Right now at 6, local community members hold a tailgate fundraiser for those who've experienced an unexpected loss.
And it's going to be windy and warm enough that we could potentially break records today. A look at that forecast, get you out the doors coming up.
Plus, people in Carthage come together to show their support for a local veteran in need.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Snowe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It's Monday, October the 28th. We are just a couple of days away from
Halloween and the start of November, too.
Yeah, the start of November.
I can't believe it's all going to happen in this week.
Well, I mean, that's just the way the calendar works, man. We don't make the rules. We just follow the rules. But, you know, and I take a few days off, and I don't know what I did during my time off, but apparently it was enough to get Mother Nature moving because things are changing this week. Bob Dylan said the times they are changing. Well, that's what's happening with our weather. Got a lot to cover. We're going to dive right in, though, with first our tour around the area with our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. That's where we always start, and it's looking fairly good this morning. Again, we don't have enough daylight yet, but there are a few clouds here and there. Save from our camera at 7th and Range Line in Joplin. Looks great, so we'll head down the road, take a short drive to the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range Line, looking back roughly to the northwest, and other than some folks waiting in line, we look pretty good so far this morning, and not bad. KDOT camera 69 East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. So here's what we've got going on, and this is only one small sample. When we get to the main forecast a little later, it's going to be a lot. We have red flag warnings, parts of Kansas, Oklahoma through 8 this evening. Absolutely no outdoor burning, and honestly, it doesn't matter if you're under a red flag warning or not. No outdoor burning. Just don't do it. It's don't. We have wind advisories, all of southeast Kansas, most of Oklahoma through 8 o'clock tonight. In the wind advisory zone, wind gusts could peak at 50 miles an hour out of the south today. Outside of the advisory zone, winds are gusting 40, maybe 45 miles an hour out there. We'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, kind of variable through the day. The winds are the big story, really. The secondary story is going to be the temperatures. Take a look at Bartlesville by 4 o'clock today, 90 degrees. We could potentially tie or break some record highs across the area, especially the further west you go, where it's going to be a little bit hotter out there. We're otherwise just dry and breezy, but dry is a word we're going to be able to stop saying here before too much longer. 63 Joplin, 58 in Pittsburgh. Quick check of temperatures around the region. We're doing all right. Got some upper 50s, excuse me, and low to mid 60s. I'm choking on oxygen. Apologies. Excuse me there. Okay, sorry about that. Just happens every so often. Kids getting on the bus. Again, partly, mostly cloudy skies. South winds gusting to 20. They'll really ramp up as the morning progresses. Gusting again for most of us up to 40, some of us up to 50. We'll be 86 by the time that bus brings them home. Again, partly, mostly cloudy skies out there, mid-upper 80s and very breezy. It's going to be very breezy tomorrow. It's going to be hot again tomorrow. It's going to be very breezy Wednesday. But Wednesday is where we kick off some changes. I'm going to get something to drink, and we'll have a look at that full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, see you soon. Thanks, Chris. Well, around 7 p.m. Friday night, police were in the process of apprehending a wanted individual on the northeast corner of 8th and Chestnut in the West Central neighborhood. After about 60 minutes, Joplin SWAT arrived and ordered the individual to exit the residence. Now, JPD breached the front door and the wanted male was located inside the residence and taken into custody. Now, there were no injuries reported. Authorities tell us the Springfield Police Department contacted them regarding a felony warrant for the individual. Well, early Saturday morning, a report of shots fired in the downtown Joplin Bar District alerted Joplin 911. Now on the scene was crime scene tape surrounding the southwest portion of the city parking, stretching a half block. Now an ambulance transported an injured 22-year-old male priority to the hospital, and police tell us he is stable. Detectives arrived on scene and began an investigation. 3 individuals were detained and transported to the Joplin Police Department for questioning. At this time, we have not been told about any charges being filed. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Well, Elks Lodge number 861 in Webb City held a tailgate fundraiser for some of their members who've experienced an unexpected loss. Now, the fundraiser was also a cook-off, and the prize was bragging rights. Now, attendees could buy a bracelet and sample food from the 12 entries and vote on the best one. They also got to enjoy the Chiefs versus Raiders game.
Being an Elks member is more about, it's more than just getting together and having fun. It's really coming together in a time of need and supporting each other and helping each other through difficult times.
Another way they raised funds was with a gun raffle. Well, a local veteran dealing with medical complications is facing a needed surgery in November. Now, while we didn't have the chance to speak with him directly, KOAM's Mitch Adams has more from the people who came together to show their support.
Especially Aaron, he's shocked at, the community and our friends and family that have come together and done this. Like, we asked, what do you need us to do? And they're like, show up.
Around 15,000 people call Carthage home. And when someone in the community is going through tough times, it's a no-brainer to do what you can and help. Aaron Sparlin is a husband, a father, a Marine combat veteran, and a resident of Carthage. As a kid, Aaron was all boy and enjoyed hunting and fishing, but his mother, Roberta Riley, was nothing but surprised when he wanted to join the military.
He's very quiet and very easygoing. When he went into the military, I was very surprised. It happened when the 9/11, and he came home.
Take your time.
He came home from school and told me he had signed up and that he wanted to be a Marine. And I said, why a Marine? We didn't have anybody in the family. And he said, because they're the best. That's what I want. I want to be a Marine. So that's what he did. And it was his being deployed was hard.
Aaron served 2 tours with the Marines, being stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan on separate missions. Years later, after returning home, he wasn't aware of the new battle he would soon face.
And then they did more further testing and found out that he had to have a kidney transplant. And then what they did is it's an auto kidney transplant, so they took his own kidney and placed it underneath his kidney.
He went from 165 pounds down to 125 when we were at the hospital. I mean, he's lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscles. So it's going to be a while for him to build back up to where he can do anything.
Sparlin's resilience and work ethic keeps him moving, and all he can think about is getting back on the job and helping people in need. His medical journey has taken a toll on him, but he still maintains a positive outlook despite the conditions.
He is a very dedicated person. He is caring, kind. He will do anything for anybody. He doesn't care what it is. Right now, with everything going on in North Carolina and stuff, he wants to go help and he can't. And it literally kills him that he can't go help.
Aaron has a long road to getting back to work, but with a positive mind and support from friends and family, the road will not be walked alone. In Carthage, Missouri, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
Now, Sparlin's wife, Bethany, said that after recovering from his neck surgery, he'll want to return to his job in Carthage as a construction worker. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. The rideshare company Lyft agrees to a proposed settlement with the FTC over driver pay issues. Plus, the presidential candidates are entering their final campaign stretch with just over a week left until Election Day. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, topping Nation Watch this morning. The rideshare company Lyft has agreed to a $2 million settlement with the FTC for misleading drivers about their pay. Now, the FTC said Lyft made deceptive claims about how much drivers could expect to make per hour and how much they could earn in special incentives. Now, Now, the agency said Lyft ran ads to recruit drivers that refer to specific hourly amounts. However, Lyft didn't disclose that the amounts were based on earnings of the top 20% of drivers, not an average driver. Now, in addition to the civil penalty, the proposed settlement includes other requirements. Now, the FTC says the settlement is part of its ongoing efforts to protect gig economy workers. Well, the presidential candidates are entering their final campaign stretch with just over a week left until Election Day. Yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris stumped through Philadelphia while former President Donald Trump campaigned before a packed house at one of the nation's most well-known venues, New York's Madison Square Garden. Well, but today, the Trump campaign is on the defensive after some racially charged jokes drew backlash from members of both parties. CBS News' Jared Hill has the latest from New York.
In a homecoming for former President Donald Trump, the New York native rallying thousands Sunday at Madison Square Garden.
We will have the strongest economy, the most secure borders, the safest cities, the most powerful military.
The crowd welcomed a rare appearance from Trump's wife, Melania. But this morning, there's bipartisan fallout over a comedian's racially charged jokes that opened Trump's rally.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Republican Florida Senator Rick Scott wrote on X, "It's not funny and it's not true." Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz pushed back during a Twitch live stream with New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There are hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans across in battleground states that need to send them a message on this.
The Trump campaign says the jokes were not reviewed beforehand and they do not reflect the former president's views, as both campaigns work to win over Latino voters. In Philadelphia, Vice President Kamala Harris visited a black barber shop and church and a Puerto Rican restaurant on a blitz through the crucial battleground.
We have an opportunity before us to turn the page on the fear and the divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump.
Today, Harris campaigns in Michigan while Trump stumps in Georgia. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Now, with the latest polls showing the two top presidential candidates in a virtual tie in multiple battleground states, Puerto Rican voters could make the difference. Yesterday, Vice President Harris released a video laying out her plans for Puerto Rico, which was shared by global music superstars Bad Bunny. Now, tomorrow, Trump will campaign in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a city with a large population of Puerto Rican residents. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick look at the Skywatch storm trackers. We're talking about those partly to mostly cloudy skies today. And with satellite turned on, you can see them. And as we zoom out, there's a lot of clouds out there. So it will be a mixed bag of those partly to mostly cloudy skies. Breezy as well. Another look at your forecasts when we come back.
Welcome back. We have Lori Horton in the studio with us this morning, and she's here to teach us how to make apple pinwheels. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, this is a really good one. It's fall. We're coming into those seasons, with all of the good spices, but pumpkin always gets all the attention. We love to get some apple things in there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
This is kind of a fun one, and I want to start this morning with kind of talking about the pastry that we're going to use. And this is something that you can absolutely make from scratch, but there is, of course, a great alternative. Yes. We'll call it an alternative to save a little bit of time. And that's a frozen puff pastry sheet. It's not super expensive, not a lot of difference really between the time that you would take to make it. One question that I get a lot is the difference between a puff pastry and like a croissant dough.
Oh, sure.
Because they're similar in how they're made. And if you watch a lot of videos or you like to really watch the cooking things, they're a layered pastry. So that's where you make your dough, you roll it out really thin, you put that butter between it, you fold it, you butter it, you layer it, you layer it, you layer it. And the main difference between a puff pastry dough is it doesn't have any yeast in it.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be as fluffy or waxy.
It's not. So your croissant dough is going to be more of a crumb and more tender because it does have that yeast where this does not. So that's the primary difference, kind of an easy way to differentiate the two. But this still is going to give you a really nice, thick pastry that is going to puff up when it bakes and still have a
delicious.
really
Yes.
soft. That's why you'll kind of see it more with your sweet fillings and doughs
sure.
as opposed to the savory that a lot of times you'll see with the croissant dough. So a little bit different, but in the same family. When you buy the puff pastry, it's going to come with 2 packages within that frozen box, and they're kind of small. We're going to start with letting these thaw. Of course, you always keep them frozen.
Right.
You never transfer these to the fridge, so you just kind of let them out about 40 minutes before you're going to use them.
In the box or like this? You have
Like
here.
this. I mean, I've kept these folded up this
Sure.
morning for about that 40 to 45 minutes. So what you want to see is that they're going to unfold really easily.
Okay.
And they're not going to crack or come apart. So if
Okay,
you kind of do
perfect.
this and it's a little stiff,
Just keep it as
just
is.
keep it out.
Okay.
Or you can actually wrap these in a paper towel and microwave them for about 15 seconds at a time.
Okay,
To
yeah.
soften them up. Just go easy. You don't want
Yes.
to cook them.
Just a little check, yeah.
You just want to soften them. So once you have them to that point, you're going to find them very cool but pliable. And we're actually going to take these and roll them out a little bit thinner for the recipe that we're going to do today. You can use them straight as they are, but you'll just get a little bit more out of them.
Yeah,
and you don't
absolutely.
need them to be quite as thick. It'll shorten your baking time if we thin them out just a little bit. And that's easy to do with any type of rolling pin.
Sure.
So keep them fairly square. We're going to cut out some circles for ours today so you don't have to get too fancy. But when we come back, we're going to put together some fresh apple pieces and talk about those and how we really make that a beautiful little style to our desserts. So
Sounds like a plan. Stick around. You don't want to miss it.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 6:23 now on this Monday morning. A lot to get to this morning. We're going to start with wind advisories. All of Kansas and most of Oklahoma in our region until 8 this evening. In the wind advisories, winds could gust as high as 50 miles an hour. Outside of it, not much improvement. Winds could gust 40 up to 45 miles an hour out there. On top of that, red flag warnings. Parts of southeast Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, also through 8 o'clock this evening. Of course, that just means very dry conditions, no outdoor burning. And honestly, with the winds like they are across the entire area, just consider yourselves under a red flag warning. No outdoor burning, none of that stuff. And of course, with the winds on top of everything, if you're driving, even a low profile vehicle can be susceptible to 50-mile-an-hour winds. So make sure you're paying attention. You got a good hand on that wheel, because take a look at these gusts by noon. So here's what we're talking about. Upwards of 50 miles an hour within the wind advisory area, but it's not much better outside of that, as we could still reach 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Now, the other thing we're going to face is here lately with our gusty days, the winds ease up a bit by late evening overnight. And that is not going to be the case as we continue with gusty winds even overnight tonight, still pushing some of those same zones or some of those same levels in certain areas. And we go into our Tuesday, not much change. Winds still gusting 40, 50 miles an hour, but not be surprised to see more wind advisories and red flag warnings out there. And these winds will continue. Now, they're out of the south and they stay out of the south, but they will continue to remain gusty as we head into our Wednesday as well. So it's today, tonight, tomorrow night, and into Wednesday. And then Wednesday, things are going to start to change up a bit. Today, partly to mostly cloudy skies, and we are looking at highs that could potentially tie or even break records in some cases as we heat up, especially out further west into the upper 80s, near 90 degrees. A mild overnight, some clearing. We're looking at mostly clear to partly cloudy skies briefly to start our day on Tuesday. Clouds will pick up again pretty quickly. Another partly to mostly cloudy day. An isolated shower or two is showing up on Future Track. The chance at this point is less than 10%, but a sprinkle or two may be possible here and there. We'll maintain these cloudy skies. We'll be mostly cloudy as we head into our Wednesday. Now, most of our Wednesday, we are dry, we are warm, we are breezy. Temperatures going into the upper 70s. Maybe an isolated shower or two in the late morning, early afternoon hours. Then once we hit about 6, 7 o'clock, here comes a cold front. There's that wind shift line, and here come these thunderstorms. Storms are going to be riding that boundary, and they're going to push through late Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning. So here we are about 9, 10 o'clock, starting to cross into Missouri, exiting northeastern Oklahoma. These storms are going to hold their own and be done by about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So here's some good news. It's going to bring us fall-like weather for our Wednesday night and Thursday once that front pushes through. Another piece of good news, look at some of these rain totals that are going to be possible as we get these showers and storms through the area into early Thursday morning. 1, maybe even 2, 3 inches of rain in some cases. Here's the bad news. These thunderstorms and that cold front look to be packing a punch. We have an elevated risk for severe weather across the entire region on Wednesday. That started showing up yesterday, so confidence is about medium high out there. Now, all hazards are possible at this point, including maybe an isolated tornado or two, but the greater risk at this point as well appears to be very large hail and damaging straight line wind gusts. So something to keep an eye on. We'll be monitoring it as we get closer. Still hot again tomorrow. Not bad Wednesday, a little cooler. Great for Halloween. Chilly though. Make sure you are ready for that. We warm up just a hair as we head into next week, and we bring back more scattered shower and thunderstorm chances. So we've got a wet start to November on the way. That is a check of your forecast. We're going to send over to Elise with Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, political polarization can be bad for your health. A study by New York University found people who are politically polarized in either direction are more likely to mistrust doctors and science, as well as block legislation and policies aimed at keeping Americans healthy. Now, they also tend to have worse physical and mental health than non-polarized people. The study also noted large gaps in distancing and vaccination rates between Democrats and Republicans during the COVID-19 pandemic, which was highly politicized at times. Well, the weight loss drug Ozempic could also help treat chronic kidney disease. A study in the Netherlands found that the active ingredient semaglutide decreased kidney inflammation and blood pressure in kidney disease patients by about a third. Well, more research is needed to see if the effects last long term. And men who are stereotypically masculine are less likely to address their heart conditions or take necessary medications. Now, a study by the University of Chicago found social pressures are leading some men to avoid dealing with their cardiovascular health. It's unclear whether the men are downplaying their diagnoses or not getting screened in the first place. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, the annual Heart Walk took place on the Missouri Southern campus in Joplin.
It's going to be warm. It's going to be windy today. We'll have a look at that forecast. Get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the celebration of Crawford County's oldest town takes place. We'll take you there.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Monday, October the 28th, just a few days away from Halloween, and it's going to feel like Halloween by the time we get there.
Is. Wow.
May not feel like it right now. You may be like,
Sure.
No, you're crazy, man. There's no way. No, I assure you, it will. We have a cold front coming in on Wednesday. That cold front means business. We're going to go into detail on that a little bit later, but first, let's get you out the door. We're going to start with this. This is our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. It is looking pretty good so far this morning. We got some cloud cover out there, and that's how our day will be today. Same from our camera at 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. We'll head down to the MoDOT camera at 20th and Rangeline, looking roughly back to the north and west, and it is looking good. Got folks waiting for that light to change, and boy, I'm telling you, when you're ready to get something going, that light seems like it takes forever. Any of them really seem like that. KDOT camera 69 East 520th Avenue, also looking good this morning as well. So we have red flag warnings for parts of southeast Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma through 8 this evening. Absolutely no outdoor burning. This is indicating not only is it going to be windy, but it is very dry across these regions. But in all honesty, really no outdoor burning even outside of that red flag warning zone, because this is going to be super windy across the entire region. Now, wind advisories for all of Kansas, our portion of Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma through 8 o'clock this evening. In the advisory zones, we're talking winds that could gust upwards of 50 miles an hour out of the south. Outside of those advisories, not much better. Winds still gusting 40, potentially 45 miles an hour as well. I'll look down the road on the future track heading into this afternoon. Partly to mostly cloudy skies and temperatures possibly at or above record highs for today for some of us as we stay very warm, very above normal. And those south winds don't let up. Those will continue today, tonight, tomorrow night, and into our Wednesday as well. We're sitting at 63 in Joplin right now, 60 in Pittsburgh, and around the region, and temperatures, they're cool, but still above normal out there. Most of us low to mid 60s, but we do have some mid to upper 50s here and there as well. So it's a nice start, but it should be colder. But it's not, but it will be. Kids getting on the bus this morning, low 60s. South winds 10 to 15, gusting upwards of 20. Partly to mostly cloudy skies later, 86 when the bus brings them home. Sustained south winds 15 to 25, maybe even a little higher. Gusts in that 40, potentially 50 mile an hour zone out there, which will be, again, this is one of those days too with those winds, even in a regular vehicle, a sedan, 50 mile an hour wind gusts are still enough to knock that around. So just stay alert, keep your hand on the wheel. Again, partly to mostly cloudy skies, mid upper 80s and gusty winds. Now we have that cold front coming Wednesday, and it does mean business. We'll go over those details with you in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, the annual American Heart Association 4-States Heart Walk took place in Joplin Saturday morning. The American Heart Association Heart Walk is a tradition in Joplin that increases awareness and raises funds for victims of heart disease and stroke. The organizer set a goal of $60,000 in donation, and at last check, the number is a little over $41,000. Now, sponsors and attendees gathered to take part in the festivities, including a CPR training exercise, a mascot race, and a Halloween costume contest.
I have been a nurse for 24 years, and I've always taken care of open heart patients. They're some of my favorites, some of the hardest patients. I love interacting with the patients and their families. So to me, it just kind of completes the circle.
And I was fortunate enough to serve as the MC for this past weekend's event. Well, the Spiva Center for the Arts hosted a caricature painting event based on the style of Tim Burton. Now, Rachel Cabral, a local artist, showed some examples of Burton's work and then gave the class time to paint their own self-portraits in the specified style.
I mean, I think it's really important for especially children to have an opportunity to express themselves through the arts and, meet new teachers and discover different mediums. And Spiva is a great place for classes and events.
Cabral said that one of the main reasons she teaches this type of art is that any mistakes can often be turned intentional. Well, the Crawford County Mental Health Center hosted its annual trunk or treatment Saturday at Meadowbrook Mall in Pittsburgh. The organization says the event is a way to raise awareness for health facilities around the Pittsburgh area. 27 area organizations teamed up to give out candy.
You get to get lots of candy, and it's fun because you get to dress up.
I think my favorite part about today is obviously seeing the kids having such a good time. Rain or shine, they get to come into Meadowbrook Mall and they get to do a trunk or treat. But really, the focus of this event is to put them in touch with health and wellness resources because we want a healthy community in Pittsburgh.
Now, there was an expected 1,000 attendees. Well, Crawford County residents celebrated their oldest city Saturday at a town once known as Cato. Now, currently, some of what remains of the town are an old church, schoolhouse, and a stone bridge. Attendees could learn what life was like in early Crawford County. Now, kids could also take an orthography lesson in the schoolhouse, and a lunch of cowboy stew was served and musical entertainment was provided.
I hope that people will come out to Little Cato. It's beautiful out here. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's a gorgeous drive, and take in some history of our area. It's important to know history in order to understand the present.
Cato was first settled in the 1850s. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. McDonald's says it will resume selling quarter pounders after tests showed its beef patties were negative for E. coli. And we have a warm and partly cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Sky Watch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, McDonald's announced that the quarter pounder will be back on the menu at all locations sometime this week. Now, the fast food giant said testing found that there was no E. coli present in the company's beef patties. Federal regulators believe an E. coli outbreak that has sickened 75 people in 13 states, killing one, may be linked to the slivered onions on the product. Now, sources from a Taylor Farms facility in Colorado Springs. McDonald's says it has stopped using onions from that facility indefinitely. Well, Venom, The Last Dance, mounted to the top of the weekend box office, though it earned a weaker than expected $51 million domestically. Smile 2 came in second with just over $9 million, and Conclave debuted third, earning a projected $6.5 million. And today, first responders can head to Krispy Kreme for a free small coffee and a donut to mark First Responders Day. There's no purchase necessary for the deal, which is limited to one per person. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're going to take another camera tour real quick, starting with our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. Looking good this morning. We do have some clouds out there that we're going to have to contend with today. Save from our camera at 7th and Range Line. A few more folks lining up on the roads, getting this Monday commute underway. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line looks good as well. We'll take a look at the KDOT camera 69 East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. Also good so far. All right, let's talk about what we've got. We're going to make this brief, but we'll go into more detail here in a moment. We have red flag warnings, parts of Kansas, Oklahoma through 8 o'clock tonight. Absolutely no outdoor burning, but in all honesty, no outdoor burning anywhere. Wind advisories, all of southeast Kansas, most of northeast Oklahoma, also through 8 tonight. In the advisory zones, winds could gust upwards of 50 miles an hour. Outside of that, we're still looking at 40, maybe even 45 mile an hour wind gusts. Future track into this afternoon, we'll have those partly to mostly cloudy skies, very windy conditions, and temperatures, especially the further west you go, could potentially tie or break records today. That's how hot it's going to be. And it's hard to believe that here in just about 2 days, we're going to have a cold front come through, and it is definitely going to start to feel like fall across the region. Just not today. Quick look at temperatures. 63 in Joplin, sitting at 60 in Pittsburgh right now. And around the region, temperatures, we still have some upper 50s here and there. Cassville is at 56, is one of the cool spots. Most of us, though, low to mid 60s, and of course we should be in the 40s for this time of year. Kids getting on the bus, again, partly mostly cloudy skies, low 60s, winds initially just gusting upwards of 20-25 miles an hour. But when that bus brings them home, about 86, partly to mostly cloudy skies, and those winds still gusting now upwards of 40, potentially 50 miles an hour. We got that cold front. It's a lot going on this week. We're going to talk more in detail about your forecast in just a moment. We're also going to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, here's what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, it's Bag Nose America. David visits a surprise city looking for heartwarming stories, and he knocks it out the park every time. And astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson joins us to talk about his new book, which is actually an update of his very first book. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Monday birthdays in the 4 states, and we're going to start in Webb City with Ryder Kyle celebrating birthday number 3.
And a happy 4th birthday to Owen Cruz in Pittsburgh.
And we've got Temple Thomason celebrating birthday number 8 in Commerce. And it just so happens that Temple here shares her birthday with her grandma, Evelyn Freeman. So a very happy birthday to both of you. Very happy birthday.
And in Jasper, a happy 11th birthday to Blaine Buchanan.
And in Chanute, we've got Blake Pryor celebrating birthday number 13.
Making our way over to Carl Junction, a happy 15th birthday to Morgan Stauffer, who's a freshman at CJ High School.
And we've got Mason Honschel celebrating birthday number 19. Happy birthday, Mason.
And a happy 23rd birthday to Colin Craig.
And in Jasper, Dale Earl celebrating birthday number 74.
And happy birthday to Paula Pig, turning 77 today.
And we've got Ann Emerson in Chanute celebrating birthday number 83. A very happy birthday, Ann.
And a happy 89th birthday to Pat Olson. It says here, happy birthday from your husband, Ron.
And Barney and Mary Barnett celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. A very happy anniversary to the Barnetts.
And continuing our birthday list with the happy birthday to Cassandra Beatty.
And Adeline Matthew celebrating birthday number 16 with love coming from Grandma Denise and Papa Gary.
And over in Frontenac, happy birthday to Kyler and Corbin Coombs.
And in Iola, Roy Tidd celebrating birthday number 40. Now, see, that's a great list of birthdays and anniversaries. We've had some pretty good ones. How do we keep them good? Well, Lise has some information for you.
Yes, go ahead and submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include those photos and messages, and to, of course, meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen, and to include the day of your celebration as well.
Certainly important. All right. Got a lot of weather to cover, so we're going to dive right into all of this. First, again, wind advisory. Most of Kansas, Oklahoma as well through 8 o'clock tonight. That is for winds out in the advisory zone that'll be gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour. Outside of the advisories, we could still see winds gusting 40, potentially 45 miles an hour out of the south, and that's the key. From now through Wednesday, these gusty winds will be out of the south. We have red flag warnings for parts of southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, also through 8 this evening. Absolutely no outdoor burning in the red flag warning zones, but in all honesty, no outdoor burning anywhere, really, because it is going to be too windy, it's too dry, it is going to be too dangerous. We're going to kind of cruise through some of these winds here, but this just gives you an idea is what we're talking about. So here we are at noon. Higher wind gusts are initially off on the western half of our area. On the eastern half, like I said, still not much improvement. We're still pushing 40 miles an hour. Now, one of the things is these winds will not let up through the evening and overnight hours. They will continue overnight, still gusting 40, 45 miles an hour across parts of Kansas, upwards of 30 to 40 to the east of that. We go into Tuesday, we're looking at even more widespread gusts pushing that 40 to 50 mile an hour range. So more red flag warnings, more wind advisories, very likely as we head into Tuesday across a broader portion of the area. This pattern will repeat. We will see those winds continuing Tuesday night into Wednesday, still in that 40 to 50 mile an hour range is a possibility out there, and it will be breezy through most of our Wednesday ahead of a cold front. It's going to come in Wednesday and make some big changes for us. Now for today and tomorrow, it's going to be warm, unseasonably so. In fact, we could potentially tie or break records, especially the further west you go, where we're looking to get temperatures close to 90 degrees out there. The gusty south winds, and again, partly to mostly cloudy skies. It'll be variable out there, but still, but on the cloudy side. Now, late tonight, early tomorrow, we're going to start the day mostly clear to partly cloudy, but the clouds will quickly increase. Future track is hinting at maybe an isolated sprinkle or two, but in all honesty, tomorrow, any rain chances less than 10%. And it'll be just like today. It's going to be warm, above normal, close to some records in some cases, and partly to mostly cloudy skies. We go into our Wednesday. Very similar situation is going to pan out, except we're expecting more cloud cover, so a bit more on the mostly cloudy skies. Still windy. Temperatures a pinch cooler. We're looking more at upper 70s, maybe some low 80s. Now, ahead of the front, we could still see isolated showers out there. Most of us will remain dry. It'll be about 6, 7 o'clock Wednesday evening. This cold front comes in. We've got showers and just straight up thunderstorms riding that cold front as we head through Wednesday. So by 9, 10 o'clock, here it is through Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, Miami, Veneta. Again, initially by 7, 8, rolling into Yates Center and Fredonia. By 10, Nevada, Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, Veneta. By about 1 a.m., it's going to push on through. So that's going to put it rolling through, say, the Joplin metro area, I'd say about 10, 11 o'clock Wednesday night. And by about 2 a.m. Thursday, it will be gone. Now, there's some good news and there's some bad news with this cold front. The good news is, take a look at some of these rain totals. Now, these are still just estimates. These will be changed. There will be updates as we get closer to Wednesday. But by early Thursday morning, this wraps up. We're looking at right now the possibility of 1, maybe even upwards of 3 inches of rain out there. The other good news is it puts our temperatures back about where they should be, very fall-like. The bad news is this. That cold front looks to be pretty potent, looks to be packing a punch. We have an elevated risk for severe weather across the entire area on Wednesday. This started showing up yesterday. It's still there today. Now, all hazards are possible Wednesday. That does include the risk of an isolated tornado, but at this point, very large hail and damaging straight-line winds are the primary concern. So a lot to keep an eye on, and we'll keep monitoring this as we get closer to Wednesday. We're going to have one more look at your forecast. Talk about those fall-like temperatures here in just a moment, as well as the news you need to know. And when we transition over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., we're going to see how a group of students are working towards creating a diverse selection of emojis.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Around 7 p.m. Friday night, police were in the process of apprehending a wanted individual on the northeast corner of 8th and Chestnut in the West Central neighborhood. After about 60 minutes, Joplin SWAT arrived and ordered the individual to exit the residence. Now, JPD breached the front door and the wanted male was located inside the residence and taken into custody. There were no injuries reported. Early Saturday morning, a report of shots fired in the downtown Joplin Bar District alerted Joplin 911. An ambulance transported an injured 22-year-old male priority to the hospital. Police tell us he is stable. Now, 3 individuals were detained and transported to the Joplin Police Department for questioning. At this time, we have not been told about any charges being filed. The annual American Heart Association 4 States Heart Walk took place in Joplin Saturday morning. The American Heart Association Heart Walk is a tradition in Joplin that increases awareness and raises funds for victims of heart disease and stroke. Organizers set a goal of $60,000 in donation, and at last check, the number is a little over 41,000. Sponsors and attendees gather to take part in the festivities, including a CPR training exercise, a mascot race, and a Halloween costume contest. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, it's going to be windy. Wind gusts seen anywhere from 40 to 50 miles an hour out of the south. Temperatures today could potentially break records as we go mid-upper 80s with partly to mostly cloudy skies. Winds continue through the evening and overnight. We'll go back into the upper 60s and low 70s. All right, tomorrow, still windy. Same winds out there. Same on Wednesday. Then a cold front late Wednesday starts to roll in after about 6 o'clock. Does bring us a chance for strong, potentially severe thunderstorms, so something you want to keep an eye on. Then it brings us fall-like temperatures, low 70s for our highs and more rain chances as we roll into the first week of November. So we're looking at a bit of a wet start out there, but that is some great news because we need it.
Certainly is. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making Halloween candy bark in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. There were some crazy finishes in the NFL yesterday. Coming up on CBS Mornings, the NFL today's James Brown has highlights of the teams surprisingly at the top of the standings and some teams whose season may already be over.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we'll see how companies are now catering to pets and finding success.
And Lori Horton back in the studio to finish those Apple pinwheels. That's going to wrap it up for us for now, though. Back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.